Sometimes life happens
We see you.
and you feel all alone
We feel you.
with nowhere to go.
We got you.
So many questions unanswered.
We understand. Yeah.
And you feel like you can't
But God
wrestle with
understands.
your own thoughts. This is for you
Yeah.
when life happens and it makes you feel like you're off the beat, 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 off the beat. Real authentic conversations. I just want to welcome everyone. Welcome to Offbeat Podcast. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So I'm right here. Today we have a special episode, and this young man, I don't have a lot of time knowing him, and honestly, like today's episode is gonna be it's raw, honestly, and just for a lot of people out there that don't know, a lot of our episodes, they're not planned. They're really not, and I'm not trying to say that I'm a poor planner, but in reality, it's just because I want the conversation to be as organic as possible, and a lot of times, like, that's what I love so much about this platform is that the people that have been able to come on here, all the guests and everything that we've been able to have to this day, now we have, awesome relationships with, man. And what's crazy is we got to know them here, we got to know them here on the podcast. And that's what's been cool. It's like and it's really cool to be able to hear people on Messenger, on IG chat and all that, when they message and reach out and the compliments that they're giving from the podcast, man. We truly appreciate you guys, man. And today's conversation is no different. This young man, his name is Ray, and he has an awesome brand. So let's give Ray a big Offbeat Podcast welcome.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm super excited. My first podcast, so a little bit nervous.
It's your first podcast?
Yeah, first time ever doing anything like this.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's raw. You know, so it's a little bit more nerve-wracking, but I like it. I really want to. Everyone, like I said, has a story to tell, so I'm excited.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy, man, is that even though we're not live, having the cameras on you and everything, man, it does kind of give that, like, I don't want to mess up.
Yeah, you feel it. You feel it. Yeah, like you don't want to stutter or like repeat yourself. So yeah, it's a learning experience, though. It's part of it.
No, 100%, man. And I know that from I know we first had a conversation on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
It was on Instagram, and I saw your brand through a post first. It was actually through a post, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, dude, that's a dope. Thanks,
man.
Dope. And it, for everyone wondering, this is the hat right here. This is one of his hats, and you are the third person, that we bring on that's an entrepreneur that has a hat brand. And but today's story is very interesting, in my opinion, from the moment that we were able to click on Instagram, and then when we were able to finally meet in person over there at Dandy Hat's shop, right? Mm-hmm. I felt an instant connection with you, man. Kind of like a big brother, little brother, type vibe. So and it's always it always brings like happiness, joy to my heart, man, when I see a young man, because how old are you?
I just turned 23.
Yeah, 23, man. So you're young, bro. You're young. I'm young too, man. I'm only a couple years, older than you. Nah, I'm just kidding.
We're all
a
young.
lot of years, right? Yeah. So, but it brings a lot of happiness to me, like to see a young man, your age, 23 years old, because I know what it is to give my life to the Lord at a very young age. I gave my life to the Lord when I was 18 years old. 18. So I know the the challenges, you know, what it is to be a young man, you know what I mean? And your vision, your goal. And so just to kind of break the ice a little bit, man, let's kind of share a little bit about yourself. Like where are you from, man? Where did you grow up? Let's talk about that.
I'm actually from Riverside.
Okay.
I was born in Riverside.
Oh, so you're an IE baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I was raised in Jurupa Valley.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Way different. Now I live in LA with my mom, but dude, completely two different lifestyles. Out here, everyone is riding horses and then like charreando and rodeos and stuff.
Oh yeah, especially right there in Jurupa.
So I grew up in that too, like riding horses and all that.
Okay.
And then it was just a complete change when my mom and dad got divorced and I moved back to LA with my mom.
Yeah.
It was all city, you know, didn't really get to go outside like I liked because it was more dangerous. Just, you know, so but yeah, I'm from out here, but I currently live in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah,
What part of LA?
I live in Northeast LA, so near Alhambra in El Sereno.
Oh yeah. You're over there, Eagle Rock area,
yeah,
all
around
that. Okay, all right, yeah. Because that's the crazy thing about LA, isn't it? Is that you could be, I'm from LA, but then like what part? Like
there's so many parts.
So many parts, and then like each part is like 30, 45 minutes from downtown.
There's traffic everywhere.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
So that's cool, man. So growing up in the Riverside, Jurupa area, man, what memories stand out to you the most?
Just the outdoor life, man. I loved riding horses. I still charrear a little bit, so I know how to like trick rope and florear and all that stuff. Yeah. So
we're gonna have a conversation about that, bro.
Man,
bro.
Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I go to Pico Rivera a lot. And Paris, Chino to charrear.
Yeah.
So I love it, man. I love the outdoors. I kind of strayed away from it a little bit right now just because I'm really focusing on my brand. And all that. And because I finished college not too long ago. So I was busy with that. But definitely trying to create some more free time for that. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's an amazing experience. Like sometimes I don't even realize it's kind of like a talent because I just grew up with it. They threw me in like trick roping classes when I think I was like 5 years old.
Okay.
So it's crazy how different it is how I said Jurupa Valley in Los Angeles. Because out here, instead of like signing up your kid to play baseball or basketball, they had like the YMCA where you could sign up for trick roping. Oh, and my parents didn't even know what that was, but they thought it was cool. So they put me in it, and I learned, you know. And just now it's just kind of second nature. It's like riding a bike. When it comes to trick roping, so it's pretty amazing.
So you're talking about like con el lazo, right? Where you do like the las ruedas, and you can get in it, jump. Jump through straight charreada right there, bro.
So my two favorite suertes are terna. So that's when you're on a horse and you're like doing the tricks and stuff, and you either have to rope the head or the back legs. And then manganas a pie, which is when you do the tricks on foot. And there's a horse and you have to rope the two front legs. So those are my two favorite like events.
Hey, that's dope. Thanks, like cause I lived in I grew up going to Mexico a lot, and then the 2 years that I was there, I really indulged like in the culture, man, like big time. I had my own horse out there. So that's why I'm like, heck yeah, because that was fun, bro. Like that was one of the, I could probably say that was like the highlight of my adolescence or whatever, you know what I mean? Because that was beautiful. We used to ride hours, bro, to going to different toriles, jaripeos, different ranchos, because we had our own little team. You know, we had a little de jinetes, de charros. So we had our little team together. Dope, it would be like 3, 4 of us, 5 of us sometimes. And we would just travel to different ranchos and get into, you know, it was back then, and now it's a lot more organized, I noticed, since going. But back then, it was kind of like there was the morning sessions. There were always the lazo, les llamaban. And then after like 2, 3 p.m. or something, there was always a break. And then after like 2, 3 p.m., they would do the cajon, the cajon toros, the big toros with the paid jinetes and all that. And so, you know, but the morning sessions, it was all for the charros. You know, doing, you know, tirándole la cabeza, you know, los piales, you know what I mean? And then waiting for the jinete to come ride the bull, you know what I mean? Man. So that was fun, bro. So knowing that about you now, it's like, man. That's dope, man.
It's crazy how much my dad like put into it, you know? Because we were one of the first juvenil teams out here. So in Mexico, it's super popular where as a young kid, you start charreando because that's like the norm out there. You know? So there's like different levels. Like there's like, you know, 5 to 10 year olds, 10, 11 to like 15. But out here, there wasn't that. It was just pure adults. So as a little kid, if you wanted to do that, there wasn't really an opportunity for you and stuff. And in Mexico, like they put in like smaller bulls for them and stuff. So my dad was actually, and like his compadres were in charge of like one of the first juvenil teams out here in California. So, and we were part of it. So it was crazy, man. Like we built a whole lienzo in my backyard. At my dad's house, we had our own bulls to like practice bulls to practice. Yeah. We had our own practice mares. So all my friends, you know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they would come either riding or on their trailer to my house, and we'd practice for hours, man. As little kids, like, you know, as young teens. I was the youngest on the team at the time. Like the other guys were like maybe like 4 or 5 years older than me, and we're still charreando together. So it's crazy, but those are just some of the crazy memories I have, and it's like a huge blessing. You know, my dad put in so much time, and then after, we'd have barbecues, and then Sundays are charreadas, you know. So it's a super cool experience. Yeah, no, those are beautiful, beautiful memories, man. And I don't think a lot of people understand how much skill that's needed. Yeah. Like how it's difficult. Like you gotta, in one hand, you gotta control your horse, and then on the other hand, you're controlling el lazo de riata. You know what I mean? And so kudos to that. Thanks, bro. That's man. Props, Appreciate it. So at what age? Because I know you mentioned there came a time, right, where your parents split, right? How old were you when that happened? I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old. Okay, so you're young. Like midway through first grade. Yeah. When all that happened. So I was out here, and it was very like out here in Riverside was very family oriented. Like my mom was part of being a youth leader at a young adult leader at our church, and then my aunt, who we lived with as well, with my dad's sister, was part of the young adult, you know, and I was part of Bible study. So we were like very heavily invested, family oriented. Yeah. Here, like my mom was even like a volunteer at my school, and my aunt was a teacher there. Okay. So when the split up happened, it was like I said, it was just a change, whole drastic lifestyle. Change. Yeah, because I wasn't really used to LA. The only time I would go out there was to visit my mom's mom, which is my grandma. Right. So when we came out here, I was like going into first grade. So I got thrown into like a new elementary, which was scary because the kids are different, man. It was everything's so different. Like LA's a different vibe, man. Like the kids were more like grown. Like they knew about things that I didn't know about, talking about stuff that I had never heard about. So it was scary, man. You know, like like in those like teen movies. Like, it was really like a movie. I was like taking lattes to school. That was my wife right there. Nah. With their Starbucks in the morning. So you want to say what's up? You got your mic right there. It's your mic right there.
What's up, guys?
I said, I was like, I'll leave you a mic right there, babe. So that way, if you ever want to chime in. Just in case. If you ever want to chime in, man, you know, chime in, babe. So, but yeah, man, it's to be that young, man, and then have not only a culture shock happen, but even a life shock. Yeah. You know, I think, you know, what were some of the if you can recall, or even growing up, like, how did that affect you? Yeah, it was just when you're that age, you don't understand what's going on or why. So I feel like that's why it's very hard. I mean, I'm not saying if you're older it's gonna be easy or anything, but when you're older, you kind of understand, or you see the problems occurring, and you understand your mom's point of view and your dad's point of view. But at a young age, like how I saw it, was like, oh, like why are you taking me away from my dad? Yeah, you know, and so that was like very hard for me, and just adjusting to the whole lifestyle, and always wanting to be in Riverside and wanting to go to school out there, and all my friends are over there. Yeah. So that was kind of hard about it. Just not understanding, being kind of clueless. Yeah. Because your parents could only explain so much, you know. And exactly. But you know, even though that happened, people could take that as like a negative, or as, you know, as a downfall. But now as I grow older, I see that, you know, God has a plan for everything, and things happen for a reason. And I feel like it's made me the person I am today. Yeah. Yeah. Because both of my parents, even though they're split up, you hear a lot that, you know, the dad isn't in the picture. But man, my dad has done so much for me in my life. He would, from Riverside, he would drive an hour in traffic to come see me every Wednesday and pick me up from school, and, you know, have us do our homework. Like I remember we would go eat like at a Denny's or at a restaurant, and we would eat and do homework, and then after go play basketball, go to the gym, and he would, you know, take a day off work for that, and then go back and drive back to Riverside for 2 hours in traffic, do the same thing on Friday to pick us up again and have the weekend with him, and then the same thing again Sunday, go back and drop us off. So he was heavily involved in our life. You know, so Even though you could see it as a negative, at the same time, God blessed me to what I think are the best parents for me. You know, everyone's gonna say, "Oh, my dad's the best dad, my mom's the best dad."
Right.
But I truly believe God blessed me with the best parents that were meant for me. You know.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, and that's beautiful to hear, man. I mean, not so much that the divorce happened. You know, of course, that's always you know, something that, man, it's devastating. You know, especially to a child's life, right? It's not, like you said, it's not anything that I could have understood at that moment because you were so young. You know, but it's beautiful to hear that, you know what, your parents still put on there that, you know, they never lost sight of like, hey, we're still parents. You know, these are still my children. And it's beautiful to hear that your dad was like, man, you know what, he still made that effort.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you know, I recently it's probably going to come out before this one, but we reacted to a video, a buddy of mine, to a beautiful song. Check it out when you get a chance. It's called Monsters by James Elliott or James Blunt or something like that. And it's a song that he wrote for his sick father. His dad's sick and he's dying. Beautiful song, bro. And we did a reaction to a buddy of mine, and so we talked about fatherhood, you know, and that's one of the points that we brought up was that, man, that regardless of the situation between a mom and a dad, you know, it's, of course, nobody plans that, you know, but when it does happen, it's you know, beautiful to be able to see still dads that, you know, they still go after their children. Yeah. You know, they don't allow the drama, they don't allow the situation to just say, oh, okay, well, you know, there's nothing I can do here. But no, like, dads are important. And I think what you're saying is that, you know what I mean, that, you know, you're grateful, it sucks what happened, but at the same time, you're grateful that your dad never gave up. You know, your dad didn't give up on that relationship with you guys.
And my mom too, man. My mom was playing both roles of mom and dad during the week because, dude, my mom, like, big shout out to her too. Both of my parents are my heroes, and you know, they're my heroes in their own special ways. But like, something about my mom is that she was working night shifts and getting home, you know, getting us ready for school, walking us to school, and then sleeping during the day while we were at school. And she even had like another job sometimes during the day, and then pick us up again, walk us home, do our homework, and just knock out and get ready for work. You know, so she put in the work too, playing both roles and always being there for us. So, you know, both of my parents were just huge blessings. And God literally gave them that parenting skill too. Because now, as I'm older, it's like, man, like, as I get older, it's like, you could only imagine the struggles they were going through, you know, being so young. So it's pretty crazy, like, how you look into and the stats are against you, you know, coming from a low income household, or you know, being a minority and coming from young teenage parents. It's like everything's against you. But what was pretty cool, one of my mentors told me, because I've had this discussion with other people before. But one thing my mentor told me is that God doesn't care about statistics of this world. And I was like, wow, like, that's so true. You know, like, God has a plan for everyone, no matter where you come from, no matter what money you come from. He has a plan for you, and, you know, he already knows it's gonna be written for you. It's just your job to go out and fulfill that. So that really changed my perspective on a lot. I love that. I love that, man, because it's so true, man. You know what? That's one thing that we've been able to see is that, man, is that God is not moved by what's happening in the world. God is not moved by the statistics or this or that. You know, like, literally, man, like, you know, when we say God is in control, like, God is in control, you know, and he's able to, like the Bible says, he's able to work out everything for the good. You know, he's able to work out everything for the good for those who are called according to his purposes. And that's a beautiful thing, because it exactly what it's saying is that he can cause anything to work out for the good. You know, he can cause anything. And there's situations that happen where they're probably, it stacks up more odds against us. But at the end of the day, man, if we understand our position and who we are in Christ, he can cause anything, good, bad, ugly, you know what I mean? Disastrous, whatever. Like, at the end, like, you know, he is able to turn that around and even use that for the good. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful, beautiful story, man, how you're able. And I love that at 23, you know, you have that perspective, you know what I mean? Because I know a lot of people could probably go off the rails and say, man, you know, this happened to me. So because this happened to me, you know, I'm going to give myself permission to just
get lost even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard, man, when you could look at it two ways. You could be like very negative about it, or you can motivate it, but it's much easier to take the negative route. That's the easy thing to do. So it's like when you have people telling you that the odds are against you, that you come from, high school dropout, teenage parents, the minority, it's like you're seeing all these things and it's like you fall into believing that. Yeah. And it's very easy. So that's why it's hard, but when you have God on your side, it makes it easier for you to overcome that. And you're loved, and that he's gonna want good for you. So I feel like that's what keeps you really going.
100%, man. 100%. And growing up, like, did you ever have because I know you mentioned that your parents or your mom was involved in church growing up, right? Yeah. And so is that something that you saw continuously growing up?
So after the divorce, like, things changed. My mom was very busy and stuff. So I don't think that she wanted to stray away from the church. Right. But it was just that much harder for her to get involved. Right. So even though so my whole life I knew of God, right? Yeah. I was aware of and I was knowledgeable about him because we were going to church every Sunday. Yeah. But for a period of time, we kind of stopped. We would only go here and there, or like just for Easter and things like that. Right. So we kind of fell off the rail a little bit, but it wasn't until I believe it was 2020 where for years I think I had stopped going to mass because I grew up Catholic. Okay. Yeah, I grew up Catholic. And
so you grew up going to Catholic church.
Yeah, we grew up going to Catholic church.
So she was involved in like young adults there at the
Catholic church. And when I was, not talking bad about any religion or anything that, but when I was going to Catholic church growing up, even like as a teenager, because for a while in college, I would even go by myself, but I wasn't consistent. I would go by myself to the neighborhood church. And it was kind of hard for me to like get motivated to go, to really find interest in it. It felt very like traditional, very repetitive. Right. And it wasn't until 2020, and I would go to mass in Spanish. So I know all my prayers in Spanish. So I never heard service or mass in English, right? Yeah. So when my dad in 2020 was like, oh, I heard about this church, Harvest, out in Riverside. In Arlington, we should go check it out. So I was like, oh, Christian service? I was kind of weird about it at first. It's so different. We walked in. Yeah. It was more, they looked like a concert. So I was like, it was packed. I was like, what's going on here? Yeah. And I loved it, man. Just, I felt a little bit different. Yeah. I felt like it spoke to me more. I felt more motivated to go. I actually was looking forward to Sundays, and that's how I am now. Like, I feel like the explanations, I was able to relate to it more. Yeah. I like how they go through many verses of the Bible and relate it to current day life and things like that. So that's where basically all my ideas started to spark from, because Greg Laurie is in charge of Harvest. He just had a movie come out, by the way, Jesus Revolution. Right. Yeah. So
I still want to. We still on our list. We still gotta watch it.
It was pretty good, man. Yeah. But when I first started going there, their series was on the Book of Revelation. Okay. And I had never heard of that. Yeah. So I'm sitting there like, what is this, right? Like he's talking about how Jesus is gonna come back and what he's gonna do, and also the dark things that are gonna happen because of the devil and demonic things, and describing these angels that my brand is based around. Yeah. So from that moment, I was like, I've never heard about this in Catholic church, and it just amused me and intrigued me. So that's where the idea of my brand really sparked up right there. Because I started doing research like on TikTok and on Instagram and on Google, and once again, not talking bad about anyone or any brand, but I saw a lot of Christians brands where they would kind of just nice, good quality stuff, but it was just kind of Bible verses, right? Right. And I was like, okay, like that's cool and everything, but I don't really see myself wearing that. What's something I would wear? What's something that I think people my age would find cool? Right. So that's how I got into this, reading more about the Book of Revelation and, seeing what type of angels there are, the type of events that are going to happen. So I really want to base my brand about like something that's going to attract the youth and think that is cool. Because when I wear that hat around, it's crazy. People don't know what it is, but they're like, oh, that's cool. What is that? Yeah. And it's an open door to start talking about. Start talking about your faith, talking about God. And then even though, let's say they're not a believer, or they are, that's always going to be embedded in them, Right. So you're planting a seed, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna have you explain a little bit, like, kind of through your designs. But before we get in that, because you said a lot of good stuff, bro, a lot of good stuff. And one of the things that
that I love what you said is that, you grew up Catholic, you know what I mean? And I really want to stop and emphasize in that moment because I personally, like now I look at it and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the Catholic Church. Why? Because at the end of the day, like a lot of people may or may not know this, and this is a conversation I always have with a Catholic when they approach me and say, "Oh, I'm Catholic." And one of the things I always say is because I don't like to argue. Like I'm past that phase. When I was a young believer, like I wanted to get into it with Jehovah's Witnesses. I wanted to always defend my faith. You know what I mean? But later on, I kind of like it's pointless. It's pointless to argue with people. So. But one of the things that I like to like always mention is like, I was like, hey, do you know what the word Catholic means? And they're like, well, it's not really. It's like, well, it just means you're a universal believer in Christ. Like that's the word Catholic. Like I'm a universal believer. Like that's basically all we're saying is. So in other words, like I'm a believer too.
Yeah.
So if you want to call me Catholic, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, like I'm a believer in Christ. Like that's what I am. And so it's cool because that always sparks a conversation of like where they let their guard down, because a lot of times, sometimes you do come across people that are very strong in their faith, and Catholic is like, well, look, like at the end of the day, and that's why I'm so grateful for it, because in some way, somehow, like it did introduce us to, even if it was just to have the knowledge and the fear of God. Like to understand that, hey, you know what? There is a God. Yeah. There is a God. At the end of the day, like, whether you believe it or not, like things just didn't happen. Like there is a God who loves us. And that was truly introduced a lot of us through the Catholic Church, Yeah. But what I love is that how, you're so honest about saying, man, you know what? But I would go and I just couldn't find myself in there. I couldn't. And I believe that's why, again, God's purposes, I believe that's why a lot of times people say, why are there so many churches? Why are there so many churches? That's why it's hard for me to grasp religion. That's why it's hard for me to grasp Christianity, because there's so many churches. But the truth is that, God is not a cookie cut God though. You know what I mean? Like he's not a God that is going to cookie cut everyone to being one way, and that's why different diverse churches do exist. You know what I mean? Because you're a great example of that. What you were receiving, what you were getting, for the time, the period in your life that you were in, it wasn't feeding you. It wasn't attracting you. It wasn't drawing you closer, you know what I mean, for your relationship. So what happened is, God opened the door for you to be introduced to Harvest.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And like you said, when I was in Catholic Church, I'm grateful for it, man.
Yeah.
I don't like to argue with anyone. I'm very open to hearing everyone out because everyone has their own beliefs, and I respect that. But when I was going to Catholic Church, I knew of God. But then Christian Church, I built a relationship with Him. Like that's when I learned how to pray, which isn't just kind of reciting or memorizing something, but praying throughout the day, like speaking to God. Like prayer is literally speaking to God. Yeah. Through good and bad. So when I was Catholic, I would just find myself kind of, saying the Padre Nuestro and not really understanding what it meant, or the Ave Maria, not really understanding what it meant, and only praying when I wanted something, or when I was scared, or when things were going bad. And it's amazing how now God is like my best friend. I just speak to Him, like in the car on the way here, just speaking to Him to like, bless me with the words and be able to pronounce everything correctly and be able to touch someone that's listening to this, right? Yeah. So it's like things like that where I feel like I've grown a little bit in my prayer life. And but without the Catholic Church, who knows, right? I wouldn't have learned anything. Yeah. That's the main source where I learned and I grew up in, and it taught me of God, and it's beautiful, man. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I believe with all my heart that, it's a gateway for many. You know what I mean? Like and it fulfilled its purpose. But that's why it's so amazing, because God really is a personal God. And I really want people who's listening to this to really understand that, man, that, God is not a cookie cut God. God truly desires to have our attention, to have that intimate relationship with us, and that's why he will use diversity. He will use, diversity within the church. I mean, he desires diversity. You know what I mean? Like God does not push diversity away. If anything, God includes diversity. Why? Because, he understands that. And that's how he was with each of his disciples. He was able to, you know what I mean? Each and every single one of them were different, but why did they follow him? Because he was able to identify with each and every single one of them. And that's exactly, it's no different to this day, you know, like he still desires to have that intimate relationship with us, you know? And I'm so glad that you were able to find that, you know, that you were able to find that, you know. And even another point that you brought up, man, is that I feel is very interesting to kind of touch on was what you shared about, you know, when, once the, you know, after the divorce happened, you know, that, you know, it wasn't that your mom wanted to astray, you know, it's not that your mom wanted to like abandon, you know, but because of time, because of the challenges. And I think that's so important to hear for believers. And here's why. You brought up an awesome point through that. And that sometimes we as the church, we as believers, we have to understand something. And this is something that is deeply engraved within my heart. I have such a burden for this, because what you said was like, it wasn't so much that she was abandoning her faith, it was because time. And I believe that people sometimes as a church, we can become insensitive to what people go through. You know, your mom, you know, you guys were going through a phase in your life that you guys did not plan for. And there's times that as believers, as the church, is we can't always wait and expect people to come to us. Sometimes we have to be the church and go to where people are at. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not using that to bash anyone, you know, or to say this is what should have happened, but I just brought that back up because I want to point that out. I know that somebody's going to be listening to this, you know, and maybe there's some pastors that are going to be listening to this. Maybe there's some, you know, some believers out there that need to hear this, that's a perfect example of, you know, too many times we see that where if you see people, oh, they stopped coming to church, and instead of going after them, you know, we begin to say, well, oh, it's because this happened, or because, oh, they did this, they did that. So we begin to criticize,
kind
right?
of push them away.
And exactly, you know, so, and I'm not saying that that's what happened to you, but again, I just bring that up because somebody out there have to hear it, you know, somebody.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that you never know what's going to happen in life, right? Only God knows.
Yeah.
But
and you never know what people are going through.
Exactly. And so at the same time, it's beautiful to know that God's gonna some way, somehow, one day bring them back. We don't know when, we don't know how long, but it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
And then the same thing, how you said, how like sometimes we gotta take the church to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful because that's what the brand has helped me do, right? It like now with my friends, it's like, or with people I meet, like you know, we were able to connect because of our faith and because of God.
Yeah.
So like people I meet in the street that see me wearing the hat, or people I'm trying to like talk to about my hat, I tie, you know, God into it.
Yeah.
And so that's also like spreading the good word and spreading the gospel. So that's also amazing. And a point you mentioned earlier is how you don't want to like pressure someone into something and like kind of throw it in their face. Like when you said you like talk to Catholics, I feel like that's very important. As you know, if there's believers out there listening, or like you said, pastors or other people, that the way I see it is you have to be respectful, even though you know, because when you're like, when you know what you believe in and you know what you love, you want to go out and tell everyone, right? And you want to like let people know, which is great. But at the same time, you have to know to hear people out. Yeah. Because just the way you wouldn't like someone trying to like shove something down your throat and like yell at you and say you have to believe in this and your way is right, no one else is gonna like that. Right. So I feel like if you do that, you're gonna kind of stray them away even more, because if someone's yelling at me that I have to believe in this and that my way is wrong, I don't think I'm gonna be like, okay, like I'm gonna be like, no, like, you know, I don't want to hear this guy. I don't want to pay attention to his religion, you know. Yeah, you're
gonna cut out, you know. And we gotta. It's hard. And the Bible even says, like, he who wins souls is wise. You know what I mean? He who wins souls, like it's not saying he who scares souls.
Yeah, you don't want to scare people.
You know, the Bible doesn't say like, hey, he who argues with souls is wise. Yeah. He who wins souls. He who wins souls. So. And the thing is with social media, man, like I didn't want to go there, bro, but I'm going to go there, man. I'm going to go there. I didn't want to go there, man, but I'm going to go there, man. Like we have too many, you know, instead of being evangelists of the gospel, we want to be evangelists of like who's right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a sad fact for me. Like I see things and I honestly, it cringes me, bro, and that's why I love what you're doing, because you are bringing something. You're bringing a brand, and you're sparking a conversation with people, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, like I love like the Ethiopian, like the story of the Ethiopian in the book of Acts. The Bible says that he was reading the scriptures, and as he was reading the scriptures, he was in his chariot and he was, on the road back home or wherever he was going. And all of a sudden he couldn't understand something. He got stuck in one of the scriptures. Boom. What does God do? God sends someone to him to explain that. As soon as that conversation happened and he realized what the truth was, he's like, man, what do I have to do to get baptized? What stops me right now from being baptized?
Yeah.
In other words, what stops me from giving my life? Nothing. And what did? They pulled over, boom, baptism right there. That happened. That's beautiful. And that's like, man, that what that shows us, man, is that, you know what, man, the truth is out there. It's up to us to look for the right moments to guide people towards that truth. Yeah. We want to grill and drill and be right, and this is right and this is wrong. You're only pushing people away.
Yeah.
Straight out. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many accounts that I follow, and I've unfollowed a lot because it's like they try to push this narrative, this belief system, and a lot of times it's far from the gospel, bro. Like, I'll be straight out. Like, a lot of times, like, there's a lot of narratives out there, man, that all they're trying to push is a political narrative. Yeah. Straight out. They're trying to just push a political narrative, and they're mixing it with the gospel. But at the end of the day, man, like, the Bible says, he who wins souls, not he who argues with souls, not he who scares, not he who won the argument, not he who has the political, who's political correct, not he who, has the political system down. Doesn't say that. It's like he who wins souls. Yeah. That's what we got to do. We got to win souls.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's just coming off respectfully and being open, because no one wants to be shut up. No one wants to be told that straight up that they're wrong and that my way is right. The best thing you could do is, like you said, is plant a seed, because they're going to remember that, right? And, be respectful. And if you can, go over scripture with them and point things out. And, because that I feel like that's what's really gonna touch someone is, hey, this guy was respectful towards my beliefs and he showed me his. Yeah. So it just kind of like sparks something in them, and no one's gonna want to get yelled at and stuff. So
Jesus never I always go back, because a lot of people are like always like, a lot of people out there like say like Jesus was love, and we try to and we try to use as an excuse to say we love on people and we should just love. But then we shy away from the truth, man. And respectfully, man, that's not the case. Like, it's a difference. There's a big difference between what we're talking about. And that's why I'm glad that we're bringing it up, man. That, because the thing is, man, that there are, at the end of the day, man, God is going to, when a seed is planted, the Bible says, man, that word is not going to come back void. Whatever God pours into, he's going to reap something back. God's word is never going to return back void. But sometimes I honestly think we're the Holy Spirit. We think we're the Holy Spirit. We think we're all that in a bag of chips, and sometimes we think we know it all, and we think we know the truth, and it's embedded in us, and and this is why I don't follow this preacher and this and that, and we're like, we're these, and we become these religious people. And Jesus never did that with the Pharisees. He knew who they were. He knew what they were about. Some got convinced, cool. Some did. A lot didn't. Yeah. And he was okay with that. He wasn't like trying to start this campaign of like, let's overturn this. Let's overturn these leaders. Let's overturn these religious group of people. No, like he spoke his truth, and then if they accepted it, cool. If not, he moved on. Yeah. And that's how I always take the greatest example that I always try to take from is from Jesus himself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great point.
So let's move on from that, because if not, we're gonna be there all day. For a while. Yeah. But so I love, again, going back, man. I love your brand, bro. I love what you're doing. I love how you're utilizing this. From the moment you told me what you're doing, what your goal is, what your vision is, I loved it, man. So and I know you talked about it right now a little bit. So what besides that, like, did anything else spark up that interest to say, man, I want to start off, this brand, with this purpose, with this cause?
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of things looking back at it now that God placed throughout my life.
Yeah.
That tie into starting a Christian brand. So like an early thing was in high school, like at 14 years old, the freshman year, I was obsessed with Kanye West, dude.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was to the point, like looking at it now, that it was bad because I was like worshiping this guy, dude. Like, you know, back then his music wasn't the best, right? And like that's another thing. A lot of music now is, you talk about like a handful of things, which are money, right? Woman, and a lot of them mention demonic things, right? So that was what a lot of Kanye West music was about. And unknowingly, you're listening to this stuff, right? And then he started coming out with fashion. So I got heavily invested into fashion with like all the Yeezys and his Yeezy season merch. And that tied into other artists, you know, and like I would go to Melrose a lot because I loved fashion. I loved clothes. Yeah. So from a young age, I always loved fashion, and I always knew and thought about starting a brand, but I always shied away from it because I was like, every kid my age is starting my brand. What's going to make me blow up? I don't really know what's going to make me unique. Yeah. So kind of push that aside, right? And then I was always involved in church. And then when I started going to Christian church is when I started looking up those brands. And I was like, okay, like I see a lot of the same things. I want to make something that's really going to target the youth and young adults and be like, that's cool. And so that was also another idea when I started learning about the book of Revelation. And at Harvest, I was like, man, like I started looking up these angels, like, dude, this looks cool. Like, this looks scary, right?
The way the descriptions.
That's why when they appear to you, they say, be not afraid, right? Yeah. Because they're meant to like scare away demons and be God's soldiers. Yeah. So when people picture an angel, the first thing that comes to mind, even me now, is like, you know, a beautiful person with nice white wings. Yeah. Big white wings. But in reality, not all angels look that way. And the book of Revelation, it says that, you know, angels appear with 6 wings, you know, covered in feathers and covered in eyes. Yeah. So, and that's what this is depicting here. But yeah.
Go ahead and hold it up this way.
Yeah. So, you know, these are all the wings and the eye in the middle covered in eyes. And this is the side patch. It says Revelation series with a cross instead of the MLB player. So that was really like the inspiration. Yeah. And this is another angel from the book of Ezekiel. This is actually an angel that follows God's chariot. So it has axles and tire-like circles full of eyes that move in their own direction with fire. So yeah, I was reading the Bible and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I don't really see any brands depicting these biblically accurate angels or these biblically accurate images and creatures that are from the Bible. Right. So that's what really like kept me going. And then, so it was just an idea, right? And I was still my senior year of college. I graduated from Casale with a degree in business marketing. Okay. So I was like, okay, I want to do something business, something marketing. Still didn't think about the brand. I was like, how am I going to do it? And then I had already known Dandy, and I like help him out. I work for him here and there. You know, we'll help him do TikToks or help him with his boxing and with the hats and stuff. So I was like, man, this guy is doing well. Yeah. And hats are really popular right now. I was like, if he could do it, I could do it. And it was cool because me and him have even had talks about our faith, and he's given me so many. I consider him my friend, but also a mentor. Yeah. Because he's like taking me under his wing and taught me marketing techniques in the real world, how he applies to his brand, how to like, you know, run a social media page, how to design hats, what to use on your computer, how to get ideas. So everything, I feel like those were the 3 main things that tied in to everything. And when I found God and really like gave my life to him, I was like, you know what, I think this is my calling, is to start this brand and really target the youth. Yeah. You know, and show them something new that they haven't seen, because even a lot of believers don't know what the book of Revelation says about angels. Right. You know, so now imagine people that, and it's crazy because even I have people and I have met people that aren't believers and they know what angels look like. They're like, oh yeah, that's an angel. Right. And then, so it's crazy the type of people we run into and what people know. Yeah. So, yeah. And it's cool. And just to be clear, like, because there's a lot of people out there that probably like, we always get the theologians and the, you know, the Bible thumpers, and, you know, we'll always get something, you know what I mean? Like, so, but it's gonna happen. Just to be clear, you know what I mean? Like, it's not so much that you're making an image for us to worship, right? No. Yeah. It's just that, and I've already ran into that where it's like, oh, you know, are you making this to worship them? Or and it's not that. Like, the mission of my brand it's called Root Awakenings, right? Because I wanted to be an awakening to everyone, to believers and non-believers, about what the Bible actually says and the accuracy of it. So my mission is the awakening of God's miracles and his love towards humanity expressed through a modern form of art and fashion. Because I really want to target the youth, man. And one thing that I've realized and God spoke to me is that I want to be the biggest Christian-based brand with the biggest non-believer following, because what I've learned is that a lot of people and a lot of believers target believers already, right?
Right.
So they're already believers. How about the non-believers? Let's try to target them and plant that seed in them. So how amazing would it be for a non-believer to see my hat on social media and like it and think it's cool, and then along the way they're like, oh wow, this is an angel from the book of Revelation, this and that. So now imagine they wear it and they're around their friends who are probably non-believers as well. Yeah. What are they gonna ask? Oh, what is that? And what are they gonna tell them? You know, it's just planting that.
I love that approach, bro. I love that, bro, because. And I asked that question not so much because I see what you're doing, you know what I mean? But I asked that question because, like, just to clear the air about it, because I love that, man. And we need that. Like, what I'm about to say too is I don't want to bash anything in any way, shape, or form, but your name, Root Awakening, I love that because there's a lot of talk about revival. Within the church. And I'm not trying to knock that. Like I've seen revival. I believe that revival can happen. Yeah. But I love this term better. I believe this term is what we truly need. We don't need more revival events. And I want to be very careful with how I say this, because again, I'm not knocking it. But if your revival event is full of Christians, you're not reviving. You're and I get it. Revival is for the church. Yeah. It is. I get that. But we need non-believers awakened. Yeah. And I believe that the church, and this is me, I believe this. I believe that, and you can even see it in the book of Acts. In the book of Acts, what revived the church, it was the prayer meetings, it was the worship, but you know what truly awakened and revived the community was souls. New people being added unto the church. That is an image of awakening. That is, to me, that's the image of revival. Yeah. It's not people, yes, it's like I believe in what the Holy Spirit does to people. I believe in, and when there's brokenness, I believe that. And I want to be very clear with that, because I know that the theologians are probably going to try to come after the revivalists, you know what I mean? The all this and that, but I want to be very, very, it's useless to just have a room full of people, just Christians, and just calling it a revival, but then no new souls are coming. Nobody is coming to Christ. What's happening is we're just having a Christian party. That's all we're doing. Which is great, right? But we also want to bring in new, potential new believers. Exactly. And that's why I love what you're doing, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're not getting caught up in is that symbolism? And because that's too many Christians do that, man. They get caught up in symbolism and this and that and the right and theology and this and that, man. And we forget about souls. And that's why I love what you're doing, man. We need that. We need more of that in today's day. And another big thing is that, we're not old methods, the way we evangelize is constantly having to change because our culture is changing, and that's why I love that you're so clear about what you're doing, is that you're using fashion, art, photography. You're using that to captivate people's attention, and because sadly, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but sadly, standing in the corner with a bullhorn isn't going to do anything, we see it more and more. Like, we've seen different methods of evangelism, and they're great, and people have been drawn. But I believe in today's culture, especially with people your age, Gen Z, we see them coming up. Man, it's a very, very visual, generation. Yeah. And do you want to kind of touch on that a little bit too? Yeah, definitely. Like how you said, I could see why people would kind of
look at my brand and be like, oh, you kind of worshiping the wrong things in that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bigger mission and purpose behind it, and I feel like that's why I appreciate this podcast and this opportunity to sit down and talk to you about it, because I get to express where I'm coming from and my passion about it. Because unknowingly, yeah, I could get why people would think that, but it's I'm really trying to target the youth, man, and try to make, because when people think of church, I feel like especially they think it's boring, right? They don't think it's fun, think it's boring, and nah, man, when you go to church, it's the best feeling,
right?
And like you said, I want it to be an awakening, because when that's how I felt, right? Because we've all made mistakes and we've all been in sin, and throughout college, I feel like I was very lost, and when I started going to Harvest, it was an awakening, man. I was like, wow, like I want to love God. He already loves me. I want to love him back and follow his ways. And don't get me wrong, I still get, like everyone, still get lost sometimes and commit sin. But the difference is now that I know what repenting is, and I try to learn from my mistakes.
Right.
So yeah, it just and I've seen my brand at work, man. It's brand new, my brand, but I started in December. But I've had these ideas for years now, but I made it official in December. But I've seen it work, and it's all through God. Like it's crazy. I've had people reach out to me that I never imagined reaching out to me, saying that they would want to go to church with me, that they want to learn more. And it's like, it's crazy. Like, non-believers that I know and I don't know, having these conversations, and it's like, it's through God, everything I'm doing is through God. And he also spoke to me and sparked this idea in me that, I would rather with my brand sell one hat or sell no hat at all, but at least inspire one person than sell out in 5 minutes, but have no one inspired or like plant that seed in them. Because what's the point of me having this Christian brand and selling out? And I'll be making money, which is great. But then at the end of the day, am I making anyone take steps forward to become closer to God, to like touch their faith, Yeah. So I feel like it's bigger than just a brand. Of course, I would love to make money and make a living off of it. Right. But first, my priority, and which is always going to be my priority, is actually spreading the word. Yeah. So and that's what really matters. And like you said, with the youth nowadays, it's very visual. So I'm really trying to, like, this is just my third drop, but man, I have, thank God he's giving me these ideas. I have like 42 different designs now. Dang. On my computer. So that's enough for like the next year. Yeah. Right. Of different things that come from the Bible, and that are going to each have their own lesson and their own meaning behind it. So yeah.
That's awesome, bro. I love that, man. I really do, bro. And yeah, man, I'm glad that we're able to do this and to have you and be able to have you explain, your vision, your purpose behind it. And I think it's fascinating, bro. Like, and that's the whole goal. And even with this podcast, I probably want to say this is the first episode. No, probably like the second, third episode, probably, where we mention more, where we get into a deep conversation, even about, Christianity and things like that. I always like to, and people can criticize, say whatever they want, but I've never really wanted this to be, a Christian podcast. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I've never said that, even like in the beginning when, I remember in the beginning when we were doing I was getting all the equipment ready for the podcast and everything. Like my first initial vision was, how can I tie this into our existing church? Yeah. That was kind of like, how can I tie it? But I kept feeling in my heart, like, no, like this has to be separate. Mm-hmm. Like it has to be. And now I see why. And because we were able since the beginning, man, and it's so cool to be able to, a lot of people that I've been able to bring on, like I said, like a lot of times I don't know them. Like I don't know their history. I don't know a lot about them. And then all of a sudden we get to talking, and then it turns out that they're believers. Yeah. Like it turns out that they had encounters, and turns out, and then it's so cool because in reality, I'm just interviewing them. Mm-hmm. We're a podcast, offbeat podcast. We're here to tell offbeat stories, but really it's to engage people, to engage people so that they can say, hey man, I can relate to that story, or wow, that happened to me. Or, man, I went through a toxic relationship, or et cetera, right? And then when they finally get to a point where it's like, oh, like they turned their lives around through this.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. Because that's our vision too. For here, it's like we don't want to just jam God down your throat. You know what I mean? Like we want you to have your heart open through these stories, and then eventually, man, if we can sow that seed in you, and in that moment when you remember, man, I remember that person's story, and they were able to change their life around, and I remember them talking about they go to a church, or I remember them talking about that they go to a community. Or I remember this, and if that day they can remember that and that turns their life around, it's all worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all worth it, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's crazy that you mentioned about your podcast because, dude, I never imagined myself starting a Christian brand or being this involved in church and going every Sunday. Like, never. It happened like that, man. Like God changed my life like that because I never had that completely flip switch moment where I'm an automatically believer all of a sudden because I know there are stories like that where people grow up not knowing of God. Yeah. But I've known him my whole life. It's just that boom, I just built that relationship with him like that, and it was because of him. And it's amazing. Like and that's what I love about the brand. It's literally his ideas. So it's cool.
God's a G, bro. Like
it's crazy. Like
God's a G, bro. Like I think that. Even me, sometimes I forget that. You know, I forget how hardcore God is. You know, a lot of people out there like are, you know, like, oh, North Korea or, oh, you know, Iran or, you know, these big, you know, China, this, bro, God's got an army. Yeah. Like God's got an army of some crazy creatures, angels. Like God's hardcore. And it even shows like, man, where he says like, man, he's like, you know, when Peter cut off the soldier's ear, you know, when they were about to entrap, you know, Jesus, and Jesus was like, you know, I'm paraphrasing, all right, all the biblical scholars out there, I'm paraphrasing, but basically just like, hey, chill, Peter, like, relax, man. Like, you know, you don't understand what's going on, but you need to just chill. Like, if I wanted to, you know, I can call on the whole army of angels. Yeah. And they'll take care of this right here and there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if he wanted to, he could have commanded his angels come, take him off the cross, zap everyone, and boom, that's it. You know what I mean? And no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul. But a lot of people don't understand that God's a G, man. Like, you know, God is almighty. He's all powerful. He's all knowing. And he has a big army. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's a message, not so much that like, oh, you know, you got to be scared of God, but that's a message to just, dude, he is all this, and yet he loves everything about you. Yeah. Like him, you know, it's like if like you could, you know, like our country, we're a powerful nation, right? It's like the ruler of this nation were to come and just, you know, hey man, I want to spend a day with you. I want to spend, you know, whatever it is that you want. It's bigger than that. Yeah. God, the Almighty, the all-knowing, the all-powerful, you know, did what he did all because he loves us and he desires a personal relationship with us. That's beautiful.
No, yeah, it is. And you know, I know I'm still like I consider myself a new believer because I'm still learning, man. Like you said, everything I say isn't like a verse by verse, but I'm learning. So it's just beautiful. Like this brand is because in order for me to get ideas, I have to read scripture and learn more. Mm-hmm. So it's like benefiting me both ways, you know, and it's this brand has just been a huge blessing. It's like God has literally, like, I'm learning that things aren't a coincidence or by luck. Like it's literally God, and he's shown me so much throughout my whole life. Throughout my whole life. And now I get to, you know, pinpoint those moments and realize that it was because of him. Yeah.
You want to say something? Oh, you got to change? You have to change it? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We can go ahead. I could talk and then you can go ahead and put it on his camera. Yeah. So I'm starting to like get more comfortable. Yeah. Like before, everything had to be perfect. Yeah. You know, like, you know, because we didn't know what we were doing a lot, man. But as we've been like growing in the podcast and growing in the equipment and stuff, I'm more like, you know, like I check out other podcasts too. And I love how sometimes they just just let it flow, even the background natural stuff, you know what I mean? Like, so my wife's right there, she's changing the battery, but kind of going back, like kind of touching on what you said right now. And I love your sincerity, man, that you're saying it yourself, it's not that I still consider myself a new believer. And I want you to know, man, for me, like that is never that never let that hold you back. Never let that hold you back, number one, because like I believe that's sometimes, man, like God uses new converts more than people that have been in the gospel for years. And the reason why is because there's such a hunger and there's such a desire. And what you said right now is super, super key that people need to hear and understand. You wanting to reach people, that has caused you to want to learn. Yeah. And that's huge, bro. Why? That's so huge because, bro, I believe that when we are learning, when it's coming from a place wanting to learn so that we can build other people up, that's the job of the church. Yeah. That's the job. Like when we serve in church, when whatever we do in for the gospel, for God, if we're not building ourselves up so that we can build other people up, that's when it can become vain. Mm-hmm. That's when it can become boring. Yeah. Church can become boring. Church can become routine. Mm-hmm. The gospel can become, it can become kind of irrelevant to us. We can kind of begin to question what we're doing. But I love that you brought that point up. And I a lot of people need to hear this, is that, what are you doing with what you have? If you're a believer and church is becoming boring, or if you kind of don't feel what's going on, when you turn and you understand that, like, man, you were saved with the purpose to help other people, bro, that's a game changer.
No, yeah, definitely. And
it's a game changer.
Like that's how I feel now. And it's like, I had a guy even tell me, because when I explain my brand, dude, I get into it. Like I'm passionate, I'm emotional about it. Yeah. So it's like he was like, dude, you have like that fire in you, as a new believer. And like you said, I feel like if you continue to learn, you're gonna maintain that fire and maintain that like the Holy Spirit in you. Yeah. So, and that's how I feel right now, man. Like I'm so motivated. Like I stay up super late on my iPad, on my laptop, coming up with these ideas, reading scripture, designing stuff, wanting to learn more. Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, Sundays, dude, I look forward to Sundays now. Like I never imagined that. I remember before growing up, I would kind of dread like, Sunday, I gotta wake up early, go to church, sit through an hour at church. Dude, now I'm in church for like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And it goes by like this because I'm enjoying it. I visit different churches like to see, and different pastors, and I'll talk to this person. Oh, they recommend this church. I'll go, dude. I go like to Santa Monica sometimes, like 45 minutes from where I live to service, like early in the morning, because I just love learning. It's beautiful. You get to meet new people and other believers. And I feel like that's another important point to bring up is, a couple months back, I felt very alone because all of a sudden I'm going through this transition, and I felt, and I feel like it was, bad, thoughts that it's like, I feel alone, no one else is really going through what I'm going through. No one else really understands me. How are my friends gonna feel? Or like, I don't want to come off as annoying. But that was just like negative thoughts and bad things coming into my head. But it's crazy how all that was a lie. Now I'm at the point where I feel comfortable, and I don't think anyone's gonna judge me from what I say. And my friends are even open to listening to me, and they have their points of views. And like, you know what? I remember when I would go to church and I invite them, and it's just beautiful, man. What God has done for me through the brand, and I'm not just saying it's because of the brand, it's obviously because of God, but I feel like this is also it all ties in, it's amazing.
No, and it just shows that, our Christian walk, our walk with God, isn't always going to be perfect. It's not always, we are going to go through those moments, and I think that that's what a lot of people need to understand, that especially with when you're a new convert, like sometimes it's like, man, why am I going through these thoughts? Why am I going through these motions? And a lot of times it's because our faith is being tested. Our faith is being tested, but we have to understand that, just like any test, like physical test, it's only to make us stronger. It's only going to up our IQ.
Yeah.
And it's no different, in our walk, but I believe that a lot of times these tests, they're not just going to up our mental IQ, but they're going to even up our spiritual walk IQ.
Definitely.
It's going to strengthen our walk with him. It's going to strengthen our faith, with him. It's going to breed more confidence in us, because none of us are exempt. Jesus wasn't even exempt. Once right after he was baptized with the Holy Spirit, what happened? Boom, he 40 days, 40 nights through the desert, where he was tempted, and we should expect that. We should expect that, not out of fear, but just knowing that, man, this walk, we are, but our faith is being tested. But it's if we resist, we follow through, it's only going to make our faith stronger.
Yeah. Like I've heard a lot of pastors, and I've read a lot that, especially as a new believer and just believer in general, that's when you're going to face the most testimony,
right?
The biggest trials, because what I've like heard and read is that the devil isn't really going to go after like non-believers, they're already non-believers, right? He's really going to target the people who are trying to walk the right path and walk in faith, right? Because he's really going to tempt you and try to get you away from God, right? But like you said, that's just a test of your faith. And that's where you really got to, stick close to God. And if you do sin, which we all are because we're human, you just got to repent, and just learn from your mistakes. But I like how you brought that up, because, I'm learning a lot every day. I'm learning, and, you're saying things that I've heard and that I've read. So that's pretty cool.
No, yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to see what you're doing with your brand, bro. It really is, man. And, what are some of the things that, what are some of the your next drop, right? You have a drop coming up next?
Yeah, I have a drop coming up. I announced that it's going to be this month. I didn't say the exact date, but it's going to be this month. It's going to be the 29th of Saturday.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
All right.
But I'm just waiting for the hats to come in. So I'm excited, and I'm nervous at the same time, because I'm tripling my inventory.
Okay.
And adding a new design as well, which is this one. So no one's actually seen this design yet.
I really like this one, man.
Thank you,
I
man.
really like it. This is dope.
Yeah, thanks. That's gonna be the new design from the book of Ezekiel. But I'm excited. So, and then I'm also re-releasing this because this one went fast. The last drop. This one sold out, I think, in an hour.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when I missed that. I missed that drop because I was like, I think you released it, and then it was gonna be at a certain time.
Yeah.
I got busy doing something, and then at night I saw your post. I saw a post, and I'm like, oh yeah, his hat.
Yeah.
I went on the website, bro, and it was like sold out, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. I messaged you. I was like, dang, bro, I missed this one, man.
It was crazy. I never imagined, man. I never imagined. And it's funny because the people I expected to buy, like some of them did buy, but the people I never imagined buying were the ones that bought the most.
Yeah.
And it was a huge blessing. Thank God this one sold out.
Yeah.
I believe it was in an hour. And then this one that says everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sold out the next day during Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So but the next drop, I'm re-releasing this one because this one was very popular as well, with the suede brim. And then this one I'm re-releasing as well, but it's gonna have a corduroy brim instead. And then
kind of like this style right here.
Yeah. But in the back is gonna have like a double strap, and then it's gonna have a rubber tab with my logo as well. So I'm definitely upgrading the stuff.
That's tight, bro.
Show the chariot one.
This one?
Yeah, show it to this camera
This
right here.
Yeah, so this is the other chariot one from the book of Ezekiel. Has fire, and then it has like these rotating wheels full of eyes.
Is it showing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
but I'm definitely trying to do a lot of upgrades.
Yeah.
Also, the new ones are gonna have my logo embossed and printed on here, and then the inside is gonna have my brand name all over the inside.
Yeah.
So better quality hats for sure coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm also with every order including like a thank you note with our brand mission statement on it.
Yeah.
Saying thank you for your order, and then also including stickers. So depending on how you get, you get like a sticker of this angel or that angel, or of our Revelation series side patch. So I'm really investing a lot of time and money to really give customers what they would like, because I'm putting myself in, because I am a customer of other things as well.
Yeah.
So I know what I like and what I would like from brands. So really trying to put into it. And what one of my mentors told me is you need to build your brand up as if, for example, me, the biggest people in hats right now, would, let's say, Lids, right? As if Lids or one of the biggest hat companies is going to offer to buy your brand the next day. So you really want to, make yourself as professional as possible.
You're bringing quality out, man. And that's good, bro. That's why I love so much what you're doing, man, with your brand and everything, and, you're bringing that awareness to people. You're bringing that awakening, you know what I mean? And which is what our generation needs right now. I love, even that's why, like, I'm sporting it right now. I don't know if you could see it, but my friend, a good friend, that I got to know through this podcast too, and through the gym. But Ruben, he has this brand, Humble Beast.
Nice.
And he does the same thing, which is, like, I used to see his brand all over. He even has a decal on his truck and everything. But it always drew me. And when I heard his story, and I even got to interview him here on the podcast, his story is amazing, bro. And it's crazy because, like, how he ties in his story with the brand, you know, and he's had a lot of moments in his life that really have humbled. They've really, he's gone through a lot of hardships, but how through that, he's been able to, like, come out as a beast, stronger, and then he relates it to, like, because that's how Jesus was. Jesus, he's the lion, but then he's also the lamb, so. And so I just thought, like, I was like, bro, that's so cool, because you spark conversations with people. And when he tells people, he's like, man, I've been in the gym, and once he explains the brand, people are so inspired that they buy it, and then they go and they're wearing it, and then, without even knowing, they're evangelizing. They're telling people this story, and then when hey, where'd you get that? And they share about, oh, this is the story behind this. They're like, oh, wow, and so that's what we need. I think that we do live in a time where we do need to try different approaches, and this is one of the approaches that I really see, the internet space, but then also the fashion space, because everyone's trying to have that fit. Yeah, that's another thing that I like of what you do on your posts, is that you'll put your hat and you'll be like, you
create outfits.
You create outfits that go along with your hats. I think that's dope. That's tight. That's smart, man.
Thank you.
Because it does, like, oh yeah, I could totally see myself, rocking those white jeans with the white hat. You know what I mean? So because that is something a lot of people are being more aware of, like, what they wear and what they watch. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we're in that space right now, and we have to take full advantage. We can't just bash it and criticize it, or we can't just, throw things on there, that it just, it's biblical. Like, it has to sell. Like, well, no, like, God is not, how do you say, God doesn't have to back up something that's ugly, like that's my thought. Like, sometimes people are like, oh, but it's a Christian brand, it should blow up, like, or all the Christians should support it, sometimes even that. But it's like, but
like, people need to want to wear it.
It's like, do I really want that? You know what I mean? Like, it gotta look kind of dope, like this, like Humble Beast, like this hat. I'll rock it. And it's beautiful when people ask about it. Then you're able to open that door to share.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and how do you feel, man? Let's get into a little bit. Like, talked about your brand. We talked about your goal, your mission. How do you see this generation, bro? Like, you're a little bit younger than me. No, you're younger. You're whole generation different. Because I mean, I got you by, like, almost 14 years, man. Soon in July, 14 years, bro. Nice. I'm gonna be 37, man.
You're young.
But yeah, it's quite a few years, man. So that gap, what do you see? What do you see in this generation that maybe people that are my age or older, can learn? Because I feel that sometimes, even as Christians, we think just because we've been saved for so long, that automatically we just know it. And sometimes we need to be able to come down, and and just be able to like, hey, what do you see for your generation? What do you see for this generation?
So I see a lot of positive and negatives. And before I say anything, you know, I'm not talking bad about anyone, and I respect everyone's decisions and everything like that. But I feel like there's a lot of people my age and younger that are I would say like lost and don't know of God, because everyone knows who God is.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably the most, Jesus and God are the most common words and names put out there. Everyone knows, but not everyone has a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, especially where I grew up, it's like a lot of people being Latino or Catholic, which is amazing because we're worshiping the same God, but it's not as consistent where everyone's going to service every Sunday. And it's hard because in the world we live in, that isn't popular or seen as cool or as common. And that's why I feel like I felt alone when I first got into this, because I didn't know if anyone would be able to relate to me or communicate with me, which I later found out was false. But what's hard is, like, you know, everything on social media kind of stirs you away from that, especially because like on TikTok and Instagram, the algorithm is real. So if you're just looking at, you know, like girls or car videos or other stuff that really isn't of God, and like of all these rappers and stuff and about just money and fashion, that's all that's going to pop up on your feed.
Yeah.
So a lot of people my age, especially me, I'm always on my phone. So what I'm looking at is what's progressing in my mind.
Yeah.
And obviously now I'm more like on Christian TikTok and on Christian Instagram. So I see that stuff. So I'm learning. So I could see why a lot of people are lost, especially with artists. Nowadays it's bad, man. Like, I don't know if you saw Little Uzi the other day on Easter. He got a backwards cross tattooed on his tongue. And a lot of these rappers are, you know, mentioning demons in their song, even mentioning Satan and selling their souls, just rapping about money and not really treating women correctly and drugs. So it's like, if you're listening to this unknowingly, it's probably in your mind. You know?
It's forming something. It is.
So... And I was deep into that, and I feel like I'm slowly getting to the level where I'm doing my best to stay away from that. Yeah. And when I'm listening to music, I'll hear something like, okay, that's not right.
Yeah.
You know, let me change this. But yeah, it's hard. I feel like growing up, you know, this age, because it's so easy to get caught up in things that aren't of God.
Yeah. And I agree with you, man. And do you feel like that it's a battle of our identity? You know, this generation, I think
it is, because it's, I mean, no matter what generation you're from, you obviously want to fit in, right? You want to do what's normal, what's cool. And I've fallen into that, and it's not even necessary. You don't even need to get peer pressured into it. It's because it's what everyone in your high school is listening to. It's what everyone in your high school is doing. It's what everyone in college is doing and around you is doing. So if you're hanging out with these people and around these people, obviously you're going to do what they're doing. And in that moment, it doesn't seem as you're doing anything wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? But looking back at it now, you know, there were many points in my life where I shouldn't have been doing things I was. And you know, now, thanks to God, I realized that. So just going back to like the youth and young adults, I see why, like, I don't blame them and I don't shame anyone, because I'm even learning. I'm still going through it. I'm still making mistakes. I'm still falling into those bad habits sometimes, but it's just... Now with God on my side, I realize it, but it's so easy, man. With TikTok, everything is normalized, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think that's why I feel so much for this generation too, man. And I include myself in this generation, because I mean, as long as we're all living through this era, you know, we're all part of it some way, somehow. Of course, you know, as we get older, you know, your identity, you know, you become more confident in who you are. But I feel that's what like is really attacking our youth nowadays is, you know, you hit it straight on, you know, is that, you know, there's so much information flowing. There's so much. And so it does question. You know, and I feel that, because as far as like music and stuff, I think that that's always been a big influence. That's always been, in every generation, you have like different styles of music.
Like
you have different,
like even, you know, let's say you're a non-believer, even pushing religion aside. There's scientific studies literally showing that I've learned throughout high school and college by professors that the type of music you listen to, it has a huge influence on you, because that's 100. How you're going to like start portraying yourself. That's how you're going to talk. How are you gonna want to act?
Right.
And you don't even know it. It's just because that's what you're listening to in the car and everywhere you go, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And I feel like it was like even a lot of music back then, and even it was more like it really. Like if you were like, for example, let's say rap music, for example, like rap music, like when it first came out, like it was gangster rap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it caught a big wave with the gangster community. You know what I mean? Like I grew up with that. You know, I grew up as a gangster. I grew up in that ambient, you know what I mean? Like, so when gangster rap came out, I was like, heck yeah, like we can relate to it. And a lot of the stuff that they were saying, it was just like flat out, like straight out, you know, but it was more geared towards that. I feel like a lot of the stuff that's coming out now, a lot of the information that's coming out now, it's being normalized. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like, I hope I can explain this well, is that it's becoming like where, you know, back then it was like, hey, this is evil because like people who live that lifestyle, you know, are typically doing evil stuff, right? Well, a lot of the stuff now, it's like, no, it's being normalized. Like you can be in college and still be this. You can, you know, be a professional and have this. You can be rich and famous and have all this and think this way and evolve yourself around this ideology. You know, like for example, I'm going to have an episode coming up pretty soon. I'm going to interview someone who has some background in New Age, witchcraft and all that stuff. Like, I remember growing up, like that was like frowned on like crazy. Yeah. It was like, man, you really didn't want to mess with that. And even though I was a kid, I knew that stuff was not right. Yeah. Even though I was a child, I knew it wasn't right. Now it's so normalized. It's so normalized that it's part of everyday life, you know? So that's just one example that, you know, and so I think because all this is flowing through kids, through our generation, like, it's that, you know, it's so easy for them to grasp an idea, to grasp a belief, to grasp it and to say, okay, hey, that makes sense. Yeah. Like I'm gonna move forward with this ideology. And so it's very combative, you know what I mean? It really is a spiritual warfare.
It is. And that's what I wanted to say. Like when it comes to music, it's literally a spiritual warfare because it's hard, man. You see these rappers and what do they have? They have all these nice cars, all this money, you know, beautiful girls. But then you listen to their music and it's not the best message. And it's crazy because it sounds cool. It sounds good, right? Like the beats are cool. Like, and it's crazy how much influence music has on you because music has the power to make you sad and even make you cry. Music has the power to make you want to get up and dance. Yeah. And music has the power to make you want to get up and work out and get hyped up. Yeah. Right? So it's literally like feeding into you. And And it's crazy because a lot of these songs, they sound really cool and nice. Yeah. Then you pay attention to the lyrics and it's like, oh, about selling my soul or about demons this and demons that. And it's, you know, you don't know it, but that's what you're listening to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No,
so
100.
It's hard. Yeah.
100%, man. And it just reminds me of what, you know, kind of what we're talking about. I think it's in the book of, I don't know if it's in the book of Kings or in the book of, it's in one of those. It's in the Old Testament, but it's talking about the sons, a certain family. They, and the Bible says that these men, they were well versed or they knew the times, you know. And I always love referencing that because basically that's what we need. Like we need people to understand the times we live in. Yeah, you know, because it's easy to criticize. It's easy to, you know, criticize our youth. It's easy to, you know, get political with our youth. It's so easy to get into these arguments. But at the end of the day, we need to be sensitive to the times. Yeah. And yes, they're evil times, but at the same time, like we have to be able to like, I think that's got to be one of our prayers is like, God, help me to understand what our youth are going through. Yeah. Help me to understand, help me to utilize. And that's why I love so much that you were able to get this, that you know, God is going to use you and he's using you through this fashion. He's using you through this art, you know, and that's beautiful because we need that. We need these channels, these avenues to be able to present the gospel to people, to be able to give them hope, you know what I mean? Because again, he who wins souls, man, is wise, you know, and I want to be wise. I want people to know the hope that I've been able to receive, you know? I shouldn't be here. You know, like I always tell people, I should not be here. Like I really should not, you know. And God's given me so many opportunities, so many chances. And my desire is for people to just know how much he truly loves them, you know, and little by little, man, I believe that once people get that, once people know that, once people receive that, God is going to work in their life. You know, God is, you know, we don't think the way that we think just instantly. Yeah. It's been a process, you know, and I think that the church needs to understand that we want rude awakenings. We want revival, but we don't want to smell like sheep. Yeah. You know what I mean by that? Like we smell like church, but we don't smell like sheep. And what do I mean by that is that, you know, a lot of times we come out of church. We look like the church. We look good. We smell good. But the real work is with the sheep. Yeah. That's where the real work is. Like the lost, the people that don't know. That's where the real work is. Yeah. And nobody wants to deal with that sometimes. Nobody wants to deal with that new Christian that cusses. Nobody wants to deal with that new Christian that still listens to music. Nobody wants to, you know, get in that mess. Nobody wants to do that because they don't want to come out smelling like sheep. Yeah. But that's where the real work is, man. It's in the highways and the byways. You know what I mean? That's where the real work is.
Yeah, you know, definitely, man. And it's hard. And like you said, we have to pray over ourselves and, you know, over our peers and everything because there's a thin line between a lot of things. And, you know, we could try to touch those people, but also we don't want to force them and stuff. So we have to be like very aware and respectful, like I said earlier. You know, it's the best thing we could do is just inform people, you know, like you said, if there's that Christian that's cussing all the time or still listening to this secular music, is the best thing we could do is, you know, tell them, hey, you know, you should kind of like pay attention to what they're saying. It's not always portraying the right message instead of, you know,
hey, you got
it down.
Hey, you got to change that. You got to, no.
You know, just informing people because it's all about planting that seed. Yeah. And that seed's going to grow with the will of God.
Yeah. So. Yeah. God is the one who, you know what, you know, Paul said it the best. Hey, you know, when people are like, oh, I'm of Apollos or I'm of Paul, I say, man, like, who? One plants, one waters, but God is the one who brings the growth. Yeah. God is the one who brings the growth. One waters, one plants, but at the end of the day, this is a God thing. Yeah. Our life is a God thing. Like what God did for us, you know, he's going to perfect it. What does the Bible say, man? Like he is the author and he is the finisher of our faith. And the good work that he's begun, he will perfect it. Yeah. He will perfect it. And I believe that with all my heart. And I think we have to be sensitive to the times. We have to understand the times. We have to understand the harvest times. We have to understand this generation's different. And we have to bring out these new approaches. And I believe we can do it without compromising. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people too, like they get caught up with that. Like, oh, their church is growing because they're compromising. And it's like shut up. Like, what do you know? Like, souls are being saved. Yeah. Souls are being, but they're being dude, you don't know that. You're not there. You're not there every Sunday. You're not there at their life groups. You're not there. If you're not there, don't say anything. Yeah. If you're there and you see it and you have okay, go ahead. Yeah. Put your opinion down. You know, because I see that so many times too, is that people are just, and it's usually in the Christian community, you know, that you hear that. And that's what's sad is that, man, we need to really be active on reaching our generation. Yeah. Because our generation is man, they're confronted with so much craziness. We went to Seattle recently, huh, babe? Yep. We went to Seattle. And have you ever been to Seattle?
I've never been.
Okay, Seattle, much love for Seattle, man. It's beautiful, huh? Yes. Beautiful sceneries. I mean, it's a beautiful state, beautiful. Yeah. Even the city's nice. But there is, I mean, it's their beliefs, their system, it's boom in your face. Oh, yeah. Like flags everywhere, you know what I mean? Like they're all about that. They're all about the pride. They're all about, you know, BLM. I mean, it's every restaurant you go, like it's painted on the sidewalks. Oh, wow. You know, it's like, it's boom, you know what I mean? And so we could have easily been like, you know what? I don't want to be here, you know, or you know what? Like, but what good is that? Yeah. You know what? Like how are we're never going to learn how to approach people if we're never in the midst.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's very important, especially gets lost in a lot of believers and, being Christian is a lot of times I feel like you become very, I don't want to say judgy,
religious.
Yeah, like because I understand, you know what's right, and you have your beliefs, and you're on fire, and you want everyone to believe what you believe.
Right.
But you have to. It's all about respect, man. Like, what good is it gonna be? That's not being part of being Christian. If you're going out and disrespecting, right, non-believers or people from the LGBT community, like,
right.
Like, that's not part of being Christian. Being
Right.
Christian is being respectful, showing love, not bad mouthing people.
Right.
Even though if you believe, that they're in the wrong, it's still not right. If you're Christian, you have to love everyone, no matter what. And, try to, if you can, spread the word, but you have to know,
Yeah. You gotta, hey, Jesus even said it. Like, hey, you go into a house, I'm gonna send you 2 by 2. Boom. Hey, go into the house. If they receive your message, cool. If they don't, what does the Bible say? I mean, this is not me. This is the Bible. Dust your feet and move on.
Yeah.
That's what we gotta do. And again, man, like it's one of those things that's why it's because it's all tying into, your goal, your mission, and what you're trying to do, man. Because a lot of times people's like, no, we have to tell them, we have to. Yeah, we have to. But at the end of the day, it's up to them to receive that message. You know what I mean? But we can't be so like, no. Like, I can't be around this. I can't, I get it. We want to, especially our kids. Like, I get there's boundaries. We have to set boundaries. I'm not against that. We have to form boundaries, especially us that have kids. We want to set those boundaries. We want to be wise. We don't want to just allow anything, you know what I mean, to come and enter our kids' minds and things like that. Like, I'm all for that. But I'm talking about on a personal level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go into a business and be like, hey, I noticed you have this flag.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what? I was going to buy here, but because you got this, I'm out. Peace. I don't believe in that. So peace. Like, no, man. Like, you know what? Like, let me sit down. Let me enjoy the food, because you know what? I'm going to come across a cook. I might come across a waiter, a waitress. I might come across, the bartender. I might come across this person. I might come across, and you never know. Maybe your smile can change their day.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the way you approach them can change the day. Maybe the way you tip them can change their day. So I'm not going to over something, you know what I mean? Like, say, oh no, you know what, because that's what a lot of times we want to do is like, no, let's boycott this, let's boycott that. And we become this battle of like, let's cancel, this, because this cancel culture is already a mess. Like, it's a mess, dude. Like, I can't stand it. But then, you know what? We want to do the same thing sometimes. Like, they're like, oh, they're going to cancel us. Well, let's cancel them. Yeah. And it's like this battle back. Who's going to cancel who? Who has more influence? Like, and it's like, dude, it's just not even about that. Yeah. Like, it's not even about that. Like, God is we're not gonna reach heaven one day and be like, hey, how was that? How was that protest that you made? Or how was this? Or, no, he's gonna be like, did you do my will?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's at the end of the day, like,
truly matters at the
good
end
and
of the day.
faithful servant, like, you were a good and faithful servant, and that's what we have to ask. Are we good and faithful servants? Mm-hmm. Are we stewarding this message well? Yeah, are we stewarding this vision of the hat brand well? Yeah. Like, are we stewarding our words well with people? If so, then that's what matters.
Yeah, and then it's crazy that you mentioned that, because it was something that really like awakened me in church, and that Greg Glory said was, this was around the time I first started going, and it scared me, but it was a good scare, right? Like, he said a prayer, and he was like, he's like, if you were to die right now, or, let's just say you were to die right now, do you believe you would end up in heaven, or do you believe you'd end up in hell? Like, and be honest with yourself, right? And that scared me, bro, because I thought about it, and I was like, man, I don't think I want to go to heaven. Like, I have work to do. I need to actually follow God and do what His word says. Yeah. So I was like, that like sparked something in me. And I think it's a good question, like, for whoever's listening and watching, to ask yourself is, with the life you've lived and the habits you have right now, are you really doing what is right in, you know, God's eyes?
Yeah.
And at that time I wasn't. I was lost. So that was a wake up call. It scared me, man. I was like, dude, I don't think I would go to heaven with the sin I'm in right now.
That's true.
So that really like helped me kind of change my ways and follow God.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a very deep, profound question. I remember the first time, and I thank God for that person. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he's at right now. But I remember, man, like this was, I think I had just gotten out of juvie, and I was at a 7-Eleven. I was at a liquor store, 7-Eleven, and we're waiting for a ride or something. And like we're a mess, you know what I mean? And I was right there with some homies. And I remember this person, man, like he kept staring at me, but in a very like cool way, like not mad dogging me. Like he was just like, he just kept looking at me, you know? And I'm like, this guy's gonna approach me. I'm like, he's gonna approach me. So I remember kind of moving to the side and just like, I wanted to avoid him, you know, and I didn't want any trouble, nothing. So, but again, like he seemed cool. But I remember like he was heading back to his car, and I thank God that, you know, he was obedient. He, you know, I don't know what led him to talk to me, but I thank God because he came and he's like, that was one of the questions he told me. He's like, hey man, like I don't know you, and I'm not trying to offend you in any way. You're probably out here doing your thing. Like I get it, you know, but I just want to ask you a question. He's like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, sure. What's up, man? You know, he's like, if anything were to happen, do you know if you'd go to heaven? Dang, dude. Like I because in my mind when he approached me, I was already thinking of something smart to say back. Because I still am sometimes. I think my wife could probably, I'm a counter puncher sometimes. I can be. And I could be very sarcastic. But I've always had that. And I remember I was thinking about something to say to him because I was like, he's gonna approach me. And but you know what? When he asked me that, I was speechless, bro. I didn't know what to say. Same thing like you, same reaction. Where I'm like, it really got me to thinking that night, and I think it even killed my night. Like it messed up my night. Like it wasn't fun anymore. Like it didn't, because that's all I was thinking about. I was like, man, you know what? All the dirt that I've done, all the wicked, evil stuff that I've done, man. Like I'm not going to heaven. You know, like I really felt that in that moment. I'm like, man, you know what? Like I'm, you know, and it really made me to think like, you know what? I need my soul needs saving. Yeah. You know, I need something, and it just planted that seed in me. You know what I mean? And that's why like I even like your hat. Like everyone wants to go to heaven. It's true. Like everyone wants paradise. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like you could, you know, go against the grain and go against us just because of what we're saying. But I believe that everyone at the end of the day, man, like there's a eternity that's beating inside of our hearts. Yeah. There's that eternal, like there's something in us that knows that after this life isn't the end, you know, and where we end up really is our choice. Yeah. You know, it's not how good we are. You know, it's not, we can be the best person. We can be the nicest, the most kindest. We can have it all together, everything. But if we don't have Jesus in our heart, you know? Yeah. And I think that's why it's so important to get this message across, you know?
Yeah, like how you say that, like I feel like this life is a test, you know, it's temporary for paradise and eternity. So but as a believer, that's what we got to keep in mind, that, you know, living here on earth, it's truly a test, because even in the Bible, the only time God refers to someone else as a God is when he talks about the devil. And he says that the devil's a god of this earth. Yeah. So that's why there's so much temptation and so much things going on. So I believe this is truly a trial to see if we're going to, you know, be worthy. And everyone's worthy of going to heaven, right? But we got to put in that work. Yeah. Because God loves everyone, no matter what you've done, no matter what you're doing. He's going to love you. And if you repent, he's going to accept you. Yeah. But it's just our job to do that and, you know, be willing to go actually like give our life and our soul to God and, you know, go to heaven. So
believe in our heart, you know, and confess with our mouth. Yeah. Believe in our heart and confess with our mouth, man, that Jesus is Lord, that he died and that he rose again on the third day, man. That's That's the foundation, you know, and if that's all we have to do, you know, he so loved us, you know, he so loved me, he so loved you. He loves us so much that what he did for us on the cross was also that we can have access to him, you know, and all he requires for us is to say, yeah, I believe, man. And so any last words that you want to share with if you want to look into that camera right there and you want to share anything
just
with
a couple last words. I just want to thank, you know, Offbeat Podcast for having me.
Of course.
And everyone who has inspired me and was placed by God in my life, to my parents, my friends, my family, all my mentors. Thank you. And just my mission, you know, the awakening of God's miracles and love towards humanity, expressed through a modernized form of art and fashion. It's bigger than just a hat brand. You know, I'm really trying to plant and seed in both believers and non-believers about what the Bible is actually depicting. And it's going to be a journey, and I'd love for as many people to come and join me and, you know, just learn from it as well as I'm learning. So just once again, thank you. And, you know, I hope, you know, there's at least one person out there that's listening to this and that it touches them and, you know, sparks a fire in them to, you know, take steps to get closer to God and maybe, you know, revisit church or something, you know, open up that Bible app. So yeah, just thank you, and, you know, hope everyone has a blessed rest of their day.
Amen. 100%, man. Thank you guys for tuning in, man, and thank you guys so much for sticking through another episode, man. And like I said, we have some amazing episodes coming up. I have some amazing interviews set out, you know, so look forward to that. You know, we're gonna be. I'm pretty excited for some. We got some moms coming in, including my wife. They're going to be coming in soon, and we're going to be talking about some mama things, some motherhood things, you know what I mean? Things that mothers go through, working moms, you know what I mean? So shout out to everyone who takes their time, man, out of their day, whether it's to drive on the way to work, or it's right there in your living room, in your kitchen, or it's, you know, if you're listening to us through YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, man. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. And as you can see, we have a brand new setup right here, and everything, you know, the support, all the support that we have been receiving. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to all the sponsors who have faithfully been sponsoring us. And look, everything that comes in, we reinvest it back into this podcast because we want to continue to share these stories. We want to continue to share the you know, the love behind these stories, the hope behind these stories. So if you want to support, I'm going to put the link right there to the Venmo, also to Patreon. If you want to become a Patreon, or if you want to just, you know, you feel generous and you just want to give, you know, please comment to us, hit us up. The link is going to be right there. Follow us on social media. Every day we're releasing clips from that podcast that we had just released. So we're on TikTok, also Instagram, Facebook. Look us up right there, man. But we thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, this was Offbeat Podcast. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys. Let's go.
Okay, what do I do here now? Just unclick it.
Let me see. I think. That's already done?
Yeah.